gotten NHA awards. Okay, difference between good teacher and great teacher. Teaching lessons versus teaching students.
Yes. Hello? No. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Okay. Here, give me 1 second.
Sure.
I am going to turn off my walkie-talkie so you guys don't hear all the kids getting called in the back. That's never a good thing when you hear, "Can you bring me? Can you bring me?" And that's not going to be good. That's going to be the reality of teaching. So if you want a real authentic moment of teaching, that will give it to you. But I don't think I want to hear that right now.
All I can picture is you bragging about your classroom culture, and in the background, there's some kids screaming that they need you. Where's my teacher?
I mean, because it's like on the walkie-talkie, it's going to be like, "Can you get this kid?" So it's a bunch of, we're right in the middle of dismissal right now.
Okay.
I also had to lock my door before any of my teammates think I'm in here like just having a good old fun time joking. They come in right in the middle of you taping and
You know, it's funny you say that. I think you're episode 15 or 16. And as you were saying that, the first thought I thought was, I'm a little disappointed I haven't seen anything crazy while we've been recording. Like just some kid running through the background or like, sorry.
And so, you know, I'm just always trying to be prepared for the worst.
So I was looking through the notes we had after our first conversation with you.
Okay.
The topic we wanted to talk about, I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, because I often get my notes cross-coordinated with wrong things. Was it teaching the students versus teaching the curriculum? Was that it or no?
No, we were talking about post-pandemic education, how education has changed from our first 21 years this year, and some of the differences. Now, we can talk about some of those things because, I mean, all of that's going to be relevant. I mean, to be honest with you, you'll find some relevancy. Yeah, I felt I was not centering the screen. I had to lower myself a little bit.
No, you're good. It happened so abruptly. I don't know. Should I acknowledge that he just dropped down 8 inches, or should we just keep moving?
No, it was like my head was way too high, and so I wanted to get myself. Yeah, there we go, a little better.
So let me ask you then, do you want this to, because part of the ways I kind of like to run this is it's whatever structure you want it to be, and I'll just figure it out as we go. So do you want it to be, sorry, I just saw Haley cock her head like, what? Do you want it to be where you described yourself as a teacher pre-pandemic and what this means? Because one of the things I remember talking to you that I really liked was pre-pandemic, you did not know what home lives looked like. Now all of a sudden, you know exactly what they look like.
Well, I think less me, more as teachers in general. I mean, there were some things, but I really do think that a lot of things were kind of guessed. A lot of things that we thought were realities pre-pandemic that we discovered really realities. A lot of systems that we thought we knew the system was broken. You know, we heard that in the background. But then the pandemic actually going to the mechanic and saying, yo, you got a busted axle. You're like, oh, that's what that noise was. We've been saying that all along. But some of those things happen. Like we've seen the gaps. We've seen the breakdown in the structure of the system of education for years. We've seen the actual gaps economically. We've seen the gaps socially. We've seen all of these gaps. We've talked about these gaps for years. But I think what happened with the pandemic is put it blam right in your face, and you can't deny it.
I gotcha. So you're looking at this as because the only reason I asked that is we did one on basically embracing virtual technology and how that changed the day-to-day teaching. You're almost looking at this as teaching as a whole concept, not necessarily I have a Google Classroom, this is how I do it.
I mean, there's some of that, but to be honest with you, I mean,
I like yours more.
There's some structural things about it, but I believe that the structural things are kind of easy. They're just getting over some of the red tape. But there are some real fundamental things as far as the education is. I mean, they do affect the fundamentals. They affect, I'm on a Google Classroom, I'm on a virtual teaching. They affect those day-to-day things. But there are some life things that kids are actually going through that are way bigger than the fundamental things.
So what are some of those things?
I think what we've seen it's been actually known now what are the differences in populations economically, haves and don't have. I have a kid right now. I always have examples because I just have a lot of stuff happening in my day-to-day life. I have a kid right now, missed school for an entire week. Mom moved, he has no internet. Now he has to come get a hotspot from the school to be able to come to class. So he misses the entire week. This kid's already behind. He's already one of my lowest students in the class. Mom moves. They don't have internet in the new house because, of course, their economic situation going on like it is. Now they have to come to the hotspot. Now this kid has missed probably 7 days or more for a hotspot situation.
Man.
Where you and I, for a kid, my internet, matter of fact, I just moved into a new house like 3 years ago. Before I moved to the house, the internet was on. That was one of the whole things. I mean, my kids are looking, my son walks around, man, the Wi-Fi ain't working that much. He's like, oh my God. Now take another situation. Let's say if I have 4 kids. Now if I have 4 kids, they're only gonna give me one hotspot for 4 kids. Now, also too, if I have 4 kids, my bandwidth is not going to increase after 4 kids. Now, if I'm working at home, all my kids are working at home. I got 4 kids plus me working at home, all on one Wi-Fi connection, all on one bandwidth. Yeah, that blew your mind, Tommy, I know.
And it's funny you say that, especially about your son, where I was watching the Lakers game Tuesday night, and LeBron got a little blurry. And I'm like, what is going on? This is game 5? Like, what? I don't have time for this. But to your point of just the different realities that we kind of are facing. So I love all of that and kind of digging into some of that. How do we take the things that you want to talk about? Because like I said, I think there's a lot of not good stuff, but a lot of stuff to talk about. And how do we answer some of that?
That's the great point about it. I think the answering is the new approach, what we have to do differently. Because the new approach versus the old approach in some aspects, we were just worried about pedagogy. We were just worried about, I'm going to teach you a lesson. Now it's deeper than that. Now, before I teach you a lesson, I really have to ask you about your life. I really have to try to dig into more of those connections. I have to try to make those connective tissues in a situation where I see those situations. I see what you're going through. Now I have to try to teach the pedagogy, teach everything that's supposed to be taught, and I have to meet those natural first level Pavlov needs.
Okay. So I looking at the notes, I'm terrible at taking notes. The notes were all right then. So they were just a hash posh kind of all over the place. I love that. Just full transparency. I love the concept of how things are different, the Wi-Fi, the discrepancy, and now what does that mean for teachers moving forward? Because, for however many years things were taught exactly the same, and in 15 months, everything switched upside down, and what does that mean moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, even driving home for lunch today, I was thinking about even the structure, how there was no one structure as far as online teaching. I mean, do we keep the kids online all day? And if I don't keep you online, how long do I keep you online versus how long do I let you go? We've tried like 4 or 5. We've tried 2 structures already. I don't think neither one will work. I mean, one structure, I taught one class each day for 6 blocks. So I taught reading one day, I taught math one day, reading one day, math one day for 6 blocks. The new structures, I teach math for 45-minute blocks in the morning, reading for 45-minute blocks in the morning, in the afternoon. But you gotta think about it. Now I take a class where I used to teach 2 hours and 30 minutes. Now I teach that in 45 minutes. So I have to cut right across the field. And then for sakes of special ed and all those other pullout groups, I have to make sure I have all of my classes are homogenous now. So where my classes used to be heterogeneous, now they're homogenous now. So I used to have like all abilities in different groups. But now I have a high, medium, low group, which now my lows are interacting with lows all day. My mediums are interacting with mediums all day. My highs are interacting with highs all day. And so it's like the rich is getting richer. And now I would say probably about 35 to 40% of my highs are 2-parent household, middle-class kids.
Yep.
My lows are the economically disparaged problems. I never had one of my high kids ask me about Wi-Fi.
That's, there's.
Like my high class, I don't have many absences in my high class. My low class is where I have all the absences.
And okay, this is not going in the podcast. Sure, whatever. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's as simple as 2 parents? And I don't want to paint everything the same where, yep, that's the cure for everything. But that's the answer I keep hearing over and over.
I don't think it's a cure for everything. First of all, 2 parents means you have extra hands on deck. That's all it really is. Yeah.
Okay.
You have extra hands on deck. Also, too, you have extra hands on deck. You also have an extra check on deck.
Yeah.
So even if I do, let's say I have a 1 parent working and 1 parent not working, now I have 4 hands. Now, if I have 2 parent working and 4 hands, I got 4 hands and 2 checks versus 2 hands and 1 check. And 1 check 9 times out of 10 is not going to be like the greatest check. Also, too, if you're 1 parent, even if you make a big check, you have to work harder. My wife is a clinical psychologist. She works from 9 o'clock to 6. Well, I'm at home by 4 if I'm not doing a podcast.
Yeah, it's
So there's like a lot of things that we can handle. Then you add 2 checks. I mean, you have a teacher who's been teaching 21 years. I mean, several degrees in the house. I mean, back and forth. I mean,
it's just I don't know. Like you see it on Twitter or on news, and it's always, well, if there were a 2-parent household, it's like, is that as simple as this is? Like, it seems like it's more complex than that. But
also, too, is the parent's experience. What have you experienced?
Yeah.
There's
a lot of truth in that. Yeah.
My kid had a teacher that went to every parent-teacher conference.
Yeah. And that's,
a Steven teacher in every teacher conference. So no teacher can get on. Like, I'm like the hated teacher in any school district. Like, when I come into school district for a parent conference, you're like, nah, I can't fool him.
It is so funny you say that. My mom's a high school math teacher. My dad's an engineer at GM. And I remember when I graduated college looking at my little sister and saying, this doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal. And she's like, it's not. It's just the next step. But to your point, you take that to another set of circumstances. Graduating college is like the greatest thing that could ever happen. And it's just these home expectations. It's too bad there's not just a paintbrush that can kind of wipe everything clean.
Yeah. My great uncle is, at one point in time, the longest tenured college president in the United States. He is at Alcorn State University. He was the first African-American male to earn a doctorate degree in the state of Mississippi.
What was his doctorate in?
He doctorate of psychology, I believe.
Okay.
So anyway, he's first doctorate, Dr. Walter Washington, met all presidents, Kennedy, Reagan, everything like that. That's your great uncle, your grandmother's brother. It doesn't get any higher than that. So everything else that we do in the Holloway family, in the Holloway tribe, is like, you're not Walter Washington.
It's gonna be fun.
So like graduating with a college degree is like breathing in my family. That's like, Okay, where's your doctorate? You don't have a you got
You,
letters?
you only graduated with a master's? What, 3.5? What is this? So, my last question for you before we flip the switch on this thing and get rolling. Is there a buzzword for this for what you want to talk about? So, how we normally set this up is. Hear back feedback somewhere.
I
Oh.
hear you first, and then I hear you in my headphones.
Is the mic on?
Yeah.
All right, we're good. So how this normally works is welcome to today's episode of the Teachers Lounge. Introduce you, teacher at Windermere Park Charter Academy, and we're talking about blah. Is there something we can call this before we get into it? Like, is there a buzzword? Is there a sentence where it's like we just did one on work-life balance. That's easy to say. What does work-life balance mean to you? And then we're kind of off and running. But is there, or maybe it's just as simple as, what does teaching like look after COVID, after this pandemic? And we just kind of jump into it.
I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. All right. Haley, Tommy, we're good. I don't know. Did you meet Tommy last time? He's our intern.
I didn't meet Tommy last time.
He's our intern.
Hello.
Cool. So I think we'll get rolling. Yeah, and like we said, if you need to stop at any point, if I need to stop at any point, no worries. We'll kind of reset. We're the ones that edit this, so it's not like anybody else is going to be like, why are there so many stops and starts in this thing? This is embarrassing. Welcome to the Teachers Lounge. Today we're talking with Mr. Holloway, teacher at Windermere Park Charter Academy, and I'm very excited to kind of get into this topic with him. We're talking about essentially how teaching and education has changed since the pandemic. So, we've taught the same way for many, many years. COVID-19 happens, and what does that mean moving forward with teaching, with education? So thank you for being on. We were kind of talking before this that you've been a teacher for 21 years. Your teaching career is old enough to drink legally, which is actually older than our intern. How would you describe yourself as a teacher in a pre-COVID world?
Interesting. In the pre-COVID world, it was like teaching was like a second nature to me. It was like breathing. Teaching a lesson was just real easy. Teaching was a joy. It was just like something that was just a real easy thing to do. It was kind of like I could do it with my eyes closed. I knew the curriculum. I've taught so long. So I've taught everything from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade algebra, all gamuts. I've been in administration. I think I've probably done almost everything in teaching that you can imagine except teaching during COVID. And so when I talk, it's like I'm a well-versed teacher. I'm a teacher that I feel like I have a great relationship with students. I still have students who text me on my phone. I have students who DM me on Facebook asking for advice, all the way from, marriage advice, all the way up to economic advice, all the way up to academic advice. And so I've built good relationships. Matter of fact, I've told you before that my goddaughter is the daughter of one of my former students. So one of my former students wanted me to be their child's godfather. The godfather. and so, teaching to me is like a joy. I think teaching is something I was born to do.
And what's interesting to me is, some of the words you used in that, and, kind of your first answer of what teaching was like pre-COVID was, effortless. It was like breathing. And, like I said, we've talked kind of before we started recording this, relationships are a big piece with you, relationships with your students, and, kind of the importance of building these relationships and the ease that you were able to do that. But then COVID hits, and instead of being in your classroom, now we're doing this digitally. How did you start building those relationships through a screen?
It was hard. I mean, seriously, it's really, really hard. I mean, because before, interesting thing, the human touch is such a powerful thing, and I am just a believer that when you touch somebody, your energy is connected, and it's a connective tissue, a high five, an elbow bump. And that's one thing that this pandemic has kind of stolen away from us, is actually touch the hand. You could feel a lot in the handshake. I always said that I could meter my entire room at the door. I could tell what's going on at the door. I can stop anything from coming at the door. I shake your hand. I can feel your pulse. I can feel the temperature. I can gauge you right at the door. So if you have a problem, I'm like, just sit right here, sit to the side right here. We'll have a conversation. Let everybody else go in. Boom, 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 boom. After I get done, I'm gonna say, hey, what's going on? Can't do that in this situation because everybody comes in the same way, and I don't know how you come in. I don't know how you're coming in. So yeah, it was. I mean, it was kind of awkward. Interesting enough that, when I would see my students, I still do see them sometimes in the community because I'm really heavily in this community. It's almost odd.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you see Holloway. It's an elbow bump, it's a hug, we're talking. And the first student I saw her at Meyer. And we make eye contact, looks at me, I look at her. And I'm kind of like, that's her. And she's looking at me like, I think that's him. And then her mother goes, there's your teacher. And they were like, oh! And then it became more connected, but it wasn't. And now, so the big thing now, so my kids, they see me in the community, they're like, oh, I saw Mr. Holloway. Oh, I got a chance to see Mr. Holloway. That's a big deal. But the touch is there. There's some things you have to do. First of all, you got to find out more about the kids. You got to find out more about them. You have to make it a more assertive effort. One thing I know that changed is that sometimes you're more focused on the kids' well-being than the curriculum. And I know in this heavy curricular era that we're living in, when we talk about rigor and everything with all of the standardized testing and Common Core, some of that Common Core went out the door. And it's about what's the human spirit's about. I had to start teaching to the soul instead of teaching to the brain a lot of times. A lot of times I would have to make connective things, crack a joke every now and then, show more personality. Every now and then it's a dad joke. My kids, they hate it but love it, they do. Like today's joke was, what did one ocean say to the other ocean when they bumped into each other? Nothing. They just waved.
Hey. I like that one. I feel like fourth grade Scott would have eaten that up all over the place.
I mean, that's the things you do to draw it in. Then sometimes, I had to bring Sunglass Holloway in. I mean, there's so many different Holloways. There's Sunglass Holloway. There's West Coast Holloway. There's Jamaican Holloway. So when Jamaican Holloway come to the scene, he's the hey, boy. You come to my class, you want to know what we talk about. Them no things now, come on. Nah, boy, you're not coming to my class talk like that, boy. And those type of things bring a kid in.
I have a hard time believing your uncle is a president of a school in Mississippi. You could have told me he's from Kingston, Jamaica, and I would have believed you with that accent.
Your friends say me good at what me do, man.
Yeah, you flipped a switch. It's like, oh my gosh, it's better the Baja, man.
Back in college, man, all over. Been down to Montego Bay, had much curry chicken, much curry chicken, man.
That's good. Dang.
But no, and so, yeah, so some of those things, and so those humorous things, it just draws kids in, That was something I would do face to face, but it wouldn't happen as much, that I had to do it online. Now, some things did not resonate over line. They did not. Like, I had this thing called the multiplication mixtape where we put multiplication facts in the song. Tried that didn't work. It resonates in face to face. Kids love it. They dance to the music. Online, it didn't work, and so I just knew it didn't work.
And one of the things I'm really kind of curious to hear your perspective on is, we were kind of talking before we hit record on this thing was COVID did a lot of things to the world, but one of the things that it did in the world of education is it really it put the spotlight on some of the bigger issues with teaching or with education. When you said that to me, what do you mean by that?
First of all, there are many broken systems. And so what COVID really did, it took the spotlight on all the broken systems.
Mm.
You know, COVID showed us we had economic broken systems. It showed us we had racial broken systems. So we had justice broken systems. It showed we had governmental broken systems. And it also showed that we have an educational broken system.
Mm.
It showed you that education as we know it or we knew it before, there's a lot of gaps in it. One major thing it did is it put the spotlight on the economic divide.
Mm.
And it really put the spotlight on kids' zip code and their parents' economic situation has a heavy impact on their education. And we got a chance to see that. As we talked before, things like Wi-Fi, who has accessibility. And that was one of the interesting things even about our governor last year. That's why last year couldn't count. Because last year, there was not an even playing field. There was no way to even out the playing field because you have a computer at home. I don't have a computer at home. You know, I had a kid today, didn't have their computer, but they're at another parent's house. And so they're online on phone, but I'm trying to do an interim test with them and they can't do an interim test on the phone because you can't read it on the phone. They're trying to get it big and see it. But now I had to tell her to log out, come back tomorrow, take the interim when you get your computer. Had kids couldn't hear the read aloud because they didn't have earphones.
Mm.
Or I got a kid who has a baby brother in the back screaming and crying. I've had kids that have had to answer questions and had to quiet the whole house down just to answer questions.
Oh.
So these things that we thought happened in kids' house, these things that we theorized that happened in kids' houses, when the pandemic hit and we're online, you see them.
Yep.
I see face-to-face what's going on in your house. I see face-to-face what's happening. And I've also have a correlation with my students who don't have accessibility to all those things, those kids who do have access to those things and their success. And so I think in the future, what we have to do is figure out how can we even the playing field? How can we actually get things to be more equity in education?
Mm.
And so right now, we are looking at an era where we have to refigure this out. And so educational equity is for everyone.
And, you know, one of the things that I was really excited to talk with you about, you know, we talked about this the first time we talked, but this virtual world and COVID allowed you to physically see some of your worst fears that your students might be going through, where it was, is it a one parent household? Is it, you know, is it a terrible family life balance? All of these things. Now you were able to see it. And that's a piece to this that I think a lot of us did not expect when we started. I mean, this is the first pandemic for most of us, but that was a piece of this that I don't think anybody knew was coming. So when you say education equity, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that everyone has the same opportunity.
Mm.
Everyone has the same equal balance. It does not matter because right now, there's several things that really have a major effect on education, several different things. First of all, is economic background. Economic background has a very, very strong hold on kids' success rate.
Mm-hmm.
I've had situations where students who are poor, even if you're the top, smart, top of your class, you still might not make it. Where you might have a student who has, you know, economic foundation, they might be in the middle of the class, but they have a better chance than a student poor.
Yeah.
Because your parents have accessibility to things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have, if you're not in the middle of the class, I have tutoring. You know, if you're in the middle of the class, I have all of these things. I have access. So students don't really have the same access as other students. And we try to act like they do, but they don't. And one thing that happened in the school when we had kids in the school face to face, there are a lot of those things that we could eliminate. You know, you got to think about it. We have you in the school from 8 o'clock to 3:10.
Yeah.
From 8 o'clock to 3:10, you're mine. You're equal. You have the same computer as this kid. You have the same opportunity as this kid. I can bring you in. I can put more effort on this kid. I can maneuver. Now, in this situation, I have the same 45-minute block with each kid. So a kid might not need the 45-minute block, but you're still gonna get 45-minute block.
Mm-hmm.
Another kid might need 2.5-hour block, but he's still gonna get the same 45-minute block. And also, too, if you don't have it, who are you gonna turn around and get help from?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so in this situation, I teach you, I work with you, and then if you need the extra assistance, who are you gonna get the help from? You know, you look at your mom, my mom's working.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have a tutor, you know, you can come to my office hours, but if you don't have Wi-Fi, sorry if you get to my office hours.
Mm-hmm. And that's a piece of this where, you know, when COVID started and it was March, April, May, we all saw the success stories. We saw the commercials of virtual teaching and, you know, kids doing stuff at home and all of these things. We didn't see that other side to it. We didn't see the, I don't have Wi-Fi, I don't have a laptop, how do I do this? So what does that look like moving forward then, as we kind of come out of this?
Well, what I do, I think it was cute at first.
Mm.
You know, you remember the ice storm?
Yeah.
And all the blackouts.
Yeah, in
the
Texas.
storm,
Yeah.
blackout. Yeah. So we had all the blackout here. No, in Michigan we had, well, Lansing we had. It was like,
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, like 6 years ago, like 6 or 7 years ago. Well, we had these ice storms. You know, so my wife and my son and I, it was cute the first day. It was really, really, you know, it was cute. It was like, hey,
Yeah.
we're gonna sit down, we're gonna light the fireplace, we're gonna have s'mores, we're gonna sit down. You know, about day 2, it's like, okay, it's cold in here. All right. Day 3, we're like, okay, call Consumer Energy, board, water, and light. Day 4, you like, you know, because what happens, and you know, we had to do it, but we could not have a doom and gloom story. You know, we could not have a story where we are going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
It was not, we had to really save face in the educational world. So we had to show those success stories. And there are some success stories. It's not a total fail, you know, so we had to actually touch the heart, keep teachers energized, keep everybody like, okay, we can make it through this. But as making through this, we also need a plan. You know, you can't just make me feel good without having a plan. And I don't think anyone thought, I didn't think that we were going to go through this long. Like no one thought we were going to be in June 3rd right now, and I would still have not seen aunts and uncles, and I would have not still had some time with family members, or I would still be teaching online.
Yeah.
No one thought it'd be June 3rd. I still haven't gone to a concert.
I thought it was going to be 2 weeks. I thought I was going to get a nice break at home. It was just going to kind of be, yeah. Who's your go-to concert?
Like, ooh, you know what? I had a concert planned, and I was supposed to see Gregory. Oh my goodness gracious! Why does his name falls out my head? Gregory Porter. I was supposed to see Gregory Porter and Ledisi in concert at the Aretha Franklin Theater. It got postponed twice. Friends of ours gonna go hang out. Never got a chance to see old Gregory Porter. Listen to him all the time. So, you know, we like R&B and jazz in our house.
Okay. Boys II Men?
Boys II Men was a great thing.
It was, yeah.
Matter of fact, my sister missed them in Vegas on her birthday last year because of COVID.
Man, COVID's the worst.
Hey.
I mean, there's a lot of other things obviously worse than Boys II Men that happened, but that's just a tough. It's so hard to say goodbye. Anybody? Haley and Tommy are so young, they probably don't even know the song It's So Hard to Say Goodbye. So, you know, for a newer teacher that is coming into the education world that was just shocked by this pandemic and, you know, highlighting a lot of these inefficiencies in the entire world of education, what do you think that means for them starting out a career now?
Well, it's interesting because this year I had 2 newbies with me on my team. You know, I had one veteran teacher that was on my team, and she couldn't take it. It hit her, and she moved to a different school. And sometimes it is what it is. But I have 2 new ones on my team, and in our conversations, what this is what I do. I tell people this all the time. If you're going to get hit with a storm, I'd rather get hit with a storm when I don't know anything. So therefore I can learn from the storm. You know, I'd rather get hit with it young. I'd rather get hit with it in the beginning. I'd rather get hit with the worst and start off with the worst, and then I can move on after that.
So with that being said, teachers that have been teaching for 5, 10, or 15 years, what do you think their September looks like? How do we start moving forward from this?
I think we have more of adjustment than the younger ones. Because we're so stuck in our ways. We are trees that are planted deep into education as we known it, you know. And some of us don't want to get into the new things, you know, especially when you've been successful at it.
Yeah.
You know, I've been successful at teaching. I don't want to learn about Jamboard.
So when you say stuck in your ways, I think it's an interesting dynamic of, let's just say you, for example. It's tough going back to the way you taught pre-COVID because you saw all of these inefficiencies brought to life, but you also want to go back to the same way you taught. Is there a way to merge those two things?
I really do. I mean, there's some things that are, I mean, to be honest with you, there's some things that are really good about the online situation. First of all, we had to have a one-to-one correspondence with your students. We've been talking about that for years.
Yeah.
You know, we've been talking about how to really implement technology in the classroom for years. We were pushed to do that. You know, we've been talking about how can we do some things more efficiently. You know, how can we save paper? How can we save some things that we, Google Classroom, for instance, we talk about Google Classroom, you know, I have not lost the paper all year.
And honestly, fourth grade Scott would have loved that. I lost my homework all the time.
You know, no parent can tell me that Mr. Holloway, you lost my kid's paper when you turned it in. No, it's right here. Matter of fact, I can go right back into my file and get it. Mr. Holloway, did you get that paper? Yeah, I got that paper. There is no piles on my desk. My desk is pile free right now, and I don't have a bunch of papers that I'm grading, and then one gets stuck in my backpack or my bag, and I lose it, and the kid don't have a grade. I got to find it. So that's a positive thing. Also, to be able to integrate some things. I mean, being able to actually integrate technology. The only problem that I saw is that I just don't think for the average student that an entire technological curriculum is going to work. That an integrated form, integrating technology into the day-to-day life of pedagogy of teaching, your day-to-day structure of how to teach, I think is a great thing. But all day in front of a screen and this right here, I do believe there are some students this might be built. And those students are students who have like some social anxiety or some social things that they have interacting with other students and being in the same room. Students maybe who are highly intelligent but maybe bullied. They don't have to worry about being bullied and those things. That's their situation, because there are some things that just, you know, that resonate better online. But I don't think that for the norm student being online all day. So moving to September, let's go to September. I think that there are a lot of things I will bring from this online experience. There's a lot of things that I will bring in from what I've taught before, you know. But then that's just being a good teacher. I mean, being a good teacher, you want to put something else in your bag every year, you know. I always say I'm only good as my last test score. And so if I didn't have the greatest year the year before, I'm never going to hang my hat off to what I did 2 or 3 years ago. I'm only good as my last test score. And so every year I'm trying to add something new to my game. You know, I'm like Michael Jordan when he put the fadeaway into his game. You know, it changed his whole game up. I'm trying to get the fadeaway. You know, I want the little shimmy. You know, it's interesting too. I was watching LeBron.
Yeah, what's interesting, it's year 18. LeBron still doesn't have a fadeaway. His footwork is terrible.
I disagree with that. But,
pull up a video of Kobe Bryant footwork and tell me LeBron's got good footwork.
I was watching LeBron in an interview, and he was saying just that. He was saying, you know, where when he was younger, he had some things, but then he started to take things as he got older. You know, he takes things from the younger. He said, you know, when I first started basketball, there was no Euro step.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as Euro step 18 years ago. There was no such thing as a fadeaway three-pointer 18 years ago. There was no such thing as a snatchback, step back. That was travel 18 years ago.
Yeah, the James Harden step back it should probably still be illegal. And let's be honest, 3-point shooting was for the white dude in the corner when he came in the league. Like Sasha, like Wally Zerbiak.
You put him in, put packs in the corner. Now the 3-point with the metrics, everything has changed. But the same thing happens with education.
Yep.
So therefore, I have to add new things in my repertoire. And for an older teacher or seasoned teacher, I would pick this computer up and start trying to figure out some things. Always add something new. And so what we have the problem here. We have the situation, we have the issue. It's us as professionals, it's our job to be able to see how can we cure the matrix? How can we fix this? How can we as a group of intelligent people be able to figure out a problem and move forward? Most innovations happen during times of distress.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's when the culture or that's when the bar starts to move forward. And so that's one thing that's good about this in education, that we face it, we see it. But one thing we have to do, though, we have to talk about the reality. You know, we can't sugarcoat the reality of it. This is something that has happened. These are things that do not work. Let's talk about this and be honest about it. So therefore we can move on and be successful.
And one of the things that fascinates me about talking with you is, you know, the first part of this, it was COVID really highlighted some flaws. And then, you know, we turn around and an answer that I also loved was you plan on incorporating some of this technology moving forward. So what is that balance and what is that dynamic of making sure you continue to improve as a teacher while still not allowing these technological advances in the classroom to hinder other students?
Okay. Well, there's a politically correct answer, and then there's an Alvin Holloway answer. And Alvin Holloway answer is not unpolitically correct. It's the simple fact that I just believe I'm a lion, I'm a wolf. I'm a hunter. You know, and as teachers, we have to be hunters. We do. We can't be hyenas that's going to let everybody go out there and get it, and then we come behind, and then we got to be hunters. I mean, we always have to be on our A games. I'm always hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, personally, as a teacher, I'm always hungry. I mean, that's the one thing I teach in my classroom is being hungry. You know, I look at a kid every day. If you're not working, man, you're not hungry. So you full right now, you're not hungry. But he's hungry. She's hungry over here. You gonna let her be a hunter and you not hunting? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, you gonna me. I mean, I'm hungry as a teacher. So as a teacher, I'm always trying to hunt. I'm hunting for a new way to be better. I'm hunting for a new way to get it. I want my students to get it because I'm a community-based teacher. And I think as a teacher, when you're connected to the community that you live in, if I fail, I have to look you in the eye.
Mm.
And everyone doesn't have to live that. Like with me, I live in this community. I'm in this community. I've been in this community for over 20 years. I grew up in this community. Mom, pop, uncles, cousins,
Mm-hmm.
brothers, sisters, all that are in this community. So if I fail, I have to sit at the barbershop and look at you and tell you that I failed your kid.
Mm.
I have to go to church and you know, Mother Johnson tapped me on my shoulder. You know, baby, my son got a C in your class. You know, I have to go to the grocery store and hear, you know, people talk to me about it. So it's like, it's bigger than me. It's about the success of my students. So why wouldn't I not try to sharpen my skills every day? And I want a championship every year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just greedy. There's no year. I never want to be out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
In this teaching thing, I want a championship every year.
That's the old adage, hungry dog runs the fastest. And I mean, not to keep piling on, but your boy tonight might be out of the playoffs, which I wouldn't be too upset if that happens. Listen,
Yeah,
all right, you
know.
can quote. I sat on this long enough, and now it's eating me up inside. You came to me with an interview about, you know, he's got to add stuff to his game and blah blah blah. Did you see the interview where he's never going to be 100% again? And if he's not 100% and no Anthony Davis, they have no shot in winning. It's like Michael would never have said that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that offline.
Michael will say, if you want some, come on with it.
We'll talk about that offline.
So what do you think this means for education moving forward in the big picture when it comes to, you know, theoretically, a lot of students lost a year. What does this look like moving forward?
Well, theoretically, a lot of students lost 2 years.
Mm.
I mean, pandemic hit, first of all, in March of last year. And so we went from March to June online, kind of like online, because there were no rules, So from March to June, it was the Wild Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had their own set of rules. It was like some students, teachers went on class every day. Then you didn't know what you could do legally. Could you use Zoom? Could you not use Zoom? Could you use Google Classroom? Could you use this? Could you not use that? Can I text the parent? So there's no rules. And then once we started breaking all the rules, we didn't even know we were breaking the rules. They started telling us, oh, you've been doing this for the last month. You can't do that anymore. Oh, well, okay. Well, you have to type your lessons and send them to your students via email. Okay, well, all right. But then now you have to be in hour-long meeting once a week. Okay, but I thought I couldn't use Zoom. But okay, now we're going to use, okay. And so there were so many different things. So that's one that was just taken out. Second of all, this year is just kind of a shake. I mean, there's some things that we can, there's some things that we tried to do. I just don't think that we maximize our potential in education this year. So moving forward, I do believe that moving forward, we have to actually kind of pull back. I think moving forward, we have to start teaching the students in front of us.
Mm.
And that's going to be a very important part. So I think it has to be a dual level situation. We have to also teach the curriculum of the grade level that we're at.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to teach the students that are in front of us. There's no way all day I'm going to teach 7th grade math if I got my 85% of my kids know 5th grade math. It's going to be really hard to do that.
So when you just said you have to teach the students in front of you, it blew my mind, but I had no idea why. When you say teach the students in front of you, you mean the relationships in the classroom, social skills, things like that? Or do you mean, teaching the whole student?
Also their ability level, everything, the social skills. You have to actually acknowledge the trauma that they went through. You have to actually acknowledge the fact that they have been stuck in the house for a year and you don't know what they've been stuck in. I always say that this ending of the pandemic, when we come to the end, you're going to see people. It's almost kind of like an apocalyptic movie. After the apocalypse happens, boom, 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 boom. You've been underground for 3 months and now you come out to see the carnage.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going to see. We're going to see the carnage. We're going to see some people kind of like on the Thunderdome. You're going to see some people who are going to be living high off the hog like Tina Turner's character. 2-man enter, 1-man leave. You're going to see some people down there in the drag. I mean, you're going to see some people in the worst situation, but it's going to be a reality check. And then some people are going to be looking at people like, yo, you made it well out of here. You're doing too good for this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be a lot. And same thing with the classroom. You're going to see some kids who have been in the system that skyrockets. You're going to see some people who've been just held back. So as a teacher, we're going to have to teach who's in front of us. Also, too, next year, I'm going to have a group of students who've been online and a group of students who've been face-to-face for a whole year. I'm going to merge those students back together. What are those relationships with those students? Are the students who are online, have they been held back? Did they not get the full curriculum? Are the students that were here getting a better curriculum, or are the students here getting a worse experience? We're going to have to see that and mesh all that. So you're going to have to teach the students that are in front of you. You're going to have to learn who they are. You're going to have to learn what they are academically, what they are socially, what they are economically, what they are. But the reality of it, what we're going to have to do is do what we're supposed to be doing it from the get-go.
So what's interesting that you just said the phrase we're supposed to be doing this from the get-go. I was just about to ask, how do you know? Let me start that over. I don't like that. So when you say teaching the student in front of you, And a lot of teachers out there are going to have hybrid students, students that were remote for a year and a half, students that were in the classroom for 6 months. How do you start figuring out that balance of what students to push, what students to work on their full student and not so much about the curriculum, what students do worry about focusing on the relationships? Or is it just, let's see what the classroom looks like in the fall and go from there?
Well, I'm a sports guy. You might not figure that out. And I always, 2 years ago, my theme was the oh my goodness gracious. Come on, Holloway. Why is your brain so slow today? 2004 Pistons, I believe.
Okay.
The last group of Pistons that won a championship. I believe the 2004 Pistons.
Yeah, that was the last group. It's been a long time.
Yeah, 2004 Pistons. So the 2004 Pistons were this group of this misfits.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in that team was really wanted. You know, you had Ben Wallace, that was a throw-in from Orlando.
Yep,
You had
undrafted.
Chauncey Billups, was not really he was quiet. You didn't know what to expect out of him. He went to Denver. He went to Boston. All these things never panned out. Rip Hamilton came in from Washington. He was a throwaway. Rasheed Wallace was like, they given up on him in the NBA, thought he was never going to make it. And Tayshaun Prince was not really the highly touted player from Kentucky because they thought he was too quiet, and they never thought he was going to make it, and they think he had a great offensive game.
Yep.
So what Larry Brown does, though, he takes each one of those individuals and he takes their strength and bring it into the team to make them all work together.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're going to have to do, because as teachers, what we cannot do, we cannot try to stack our roster, and we cannot let our roster become our scapegoat of not winning.
Mm.
And so what we have to do, our leadership style in the classroom, we have to look at what drives students, what motivates students, what pushes students. You know, I have to understand your situation, but not hold you back. Like I have to understand, yeah, you come from a bad situation. Yeah, you come from poverty. Yeah, you got it rough, my guy. I don't know what that's like, but here, let me put some of this in you to get this fire. You want this? Let me show you how to get there. You know, you're going to have different tactics of motivation. What you cannot do, you cannot do what Michael Jordan did to Kwame Brown. You can't bash him so bad that the kid never, I'm good with this.
Kwame Brown still has bad hands, though.
You can't bash a kid so bad, but they never reach their potential. So what we have to do in a good leadership style in the classroom, especially next year, we're going to have to, we're going to have to pull out each individual strength. We're going to have to really, really it's going to be really interesting, dynamic next year. We're really, really great teachers to learn how to pull all the dynamics out of the kids. I mean, this is going to be a real, I tell anybody, man, come to my class next year. I'm going to kill the game. Because I'm expecting miracles to happen in this classroom, because I'm just really excited about all of the different nuances that we can pull out of these kids. But you got to be good at it. You have to make those relationships. You have to make those connections. You have to have your data on point. You have to know where your kids are. You have to know where you want to take them. Also, too, I believe, again, going back to teaching the kids in front of you, I think next year we're going to have some reality checks with parents.
Mm.
We're going to have to tell parents, like they tell you in the football program, he's not going to start the first year. You might not play for the next 3 years while I develop you. So we're going to have to tell parents, this is not a one-year project. You know, right now, no. At the end of this year, your kids probably won't be on grade level. But if we work this year, we're going to chop it down. We work next year, we're going to chop it down. And then we go with the NHA model. You know, NHA model talks about 3 years, 3-year trend. You know, if you're in NHA for a certain amount of years, for 3 years, you should be in the college trajectory. That's because what happens is that you're supposed to be in a good system for those 3 years. I do my level right here. Next teacher does their level right here. Next teacher does their level right here. And some of these projects are going to be 3-year projects. And we're going to have to be really, really honest with parents about that.
And one of the things, well, step one, Tommy sneezed, so he'll be fired. Don't worry. That's what we do with interns around here. He gets one strike and he's gone. 2, Kwame Brown. Did you see what he said about the Up and Smoke guys?
I
He,
did.
he went after them hard. I was like, whoa.
that was a real good topic. That's why I brought that up.
Yeah, and it's almost like, man, where was that fire for the 11 years you're in the league? I don't remember seeing that, Kwame.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's kind of let's turn that into a great analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's going to happen next year, if we don't treat our students correctly next year with all the trauma that they went through, we might have volatile students later on because of those experiences they have in the classroom.
And that was one of the, I was really glad to hear you talk about, working this kind of a team concept, and you don't want to stack a roster, and how does each piece fit in the class, or each piece fit in a team, and, how this kind of looks in a classroom. And I don't want to paint anybody in a bad light, but there has got to be a temptation next school year that you focus on the kids that are doing well, and you chalk the ones up that are not doing well too. Well, they got left behind of COVID, and you're further separating this gap between students.
Well, first of all, COVID's going to be an excuse for a lot of people. Everybody's going, that's going to be, and it's the truth, it's a reality.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't lay in that. We can't lay in that. We can't continue to lay in it. Like, it's interesting too, because our first conversation, I painted this major picture about COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that you had brought me around and you said, okay, how do we solve it?
Mm-hmm.
And so in the beginning, so in my head, I'm thinking so this interview is way different than I pictured it, because I was going to tell all the atrocities and all how my life has changed during COVID. Yeah. But at the end, I've spent more time talking about the solutions and how to get to the next level than I talked about the detriment that happened in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to actually do. We have to actually be solution-oriented, see how we're going to do it, accept our reality, and be able to move on. We're going to have to dissect what's going on in the classroom. We're going to have also, too, there are going to be some things that we're going to have to cut right across the field on. There are going to be some things that are like, I might need to cut that down a little bit. I might need to, that lesson, is this lesson as important? We got to have some priority standards. That's another thing next year. I've seen NHA has done it, but we need to have some priority standards. These are things that really need to be taught, because I'm so far in the hole. That if I try to give you every last thing, I'm never going to get done what I need to get done. And so these are some priority standards. If you have pneumonia, there's no way I'm going to be sending you to surgery for cataracts. Not gonna do it. I mean, it's simple as it sounds. That simple. It really does sound like, oh God. Well, sometimes in the classroom, we have students who have pneumonia. These are things they really, really need.
Mm-hmm.
And we're over here we are in the huddle talking about, but this cataract is really, really bothering them. And so those priority standards are going to be that pneumonia. That's that stuff that you need. These are the things you actually need. We're going to have an emergency package to get some of these kids out. What are the priorities? What are the standards that they really, 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 really need? So I do believe we're going to have to cut the curriculum some.
Are you excited for next year?
Focus on those things.
Are you excited for next year? The challenge that comes with it?
I'm always excited. I've just never been the one. I just never been the one to back down. I think I teach the best when I have a chip on my shoulder. And that's just me. I'm a real chip on my shoulder person. 2019, 2020, I won the Teacher of Excellence this year for the 2019, 2020 class. That's a pandemic class. That's a class I had, my first pandemic class. Also, that was a rough group. That group came up and was like, oh, you're going to get this group. That's that group that we had. It was like, oh, you're getting this group. Okay. Yeah. But then that was the chip on my shoulder. I set my teammates down like, yo, either we can fall down and die or we can fight to live. which one you're going to do. I don't know about you, but we're going to make it happen. And so, yeah, so this year I'm excited. Also, I'm excited too. It's almost kind of like, I've been injured. I mean, it's like that year, like you lost a year. I'm like Klay Thompson right now. I'm like Steph right now, I had to sit out a year. They put me on the bench. They had me out here taking stats right here. I've been watching you guys out here playing. I get a chance to get back out here. I've been practicing I get a chance to get back on the field. I get a chance to bump and touch again next year, hopefully.
I feel so bad for Klay Thompson. He has the ACL, then an Achilles. Did you see him during the play-in game? He was rocking back and forth like he was possessed. It's like, get
But
that man in.
right now. And that's how a lot of teachers should feel right now. Like, come on, let me in, coach. I can get it. That's how I feel right now about next year. I mean, I'm like, tap me in, get me in the game, coach.
So is there anything else you wanted to add to this?
I really, if I could say anything, I think what we have to really, 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 really get to is that we have to start learning how to teach to both the heart and the brain. And I think in education, we have focused so much on brain teaching and not knowing how impactful heart teaching really is. I have to teach to the core of your soul. I have to let you know that I care about you, that I'm in here. And also, too, as a teacher, we also have to realize it's not about what you know. It's about how you make people feel every day around you. Because that's what people will remember.
Mm-hmm.
People will remember how you made them feel. And I remember my wife, her second grade teacher was getting this award, prestigious award. Everybody's cheering. And it was her second grade teacher. And she was like, I can't stand that. I'm like, what? Like, babe, she's getting an award. She's like, people are crying over this woman. She's like, all I know is every day in her classroom, she made me feel bad. I never felt like I could succeed in her class. She never motivated me. She never pushed me. She never made me feel good. And so that's what heart teaching is. Heart teaching is when you make kids feel good in front of you. You make them feel like they can accomplish something. You make them feel like that they can overcome some things. You give them the reality. This is your reality. This is where you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So when you teach that heart teaching, then what you're teaching to the head resonates more, because now I have a passion, I have a reason to learn what you're teaching. But before then, I had no reason. You just teach it because you teach it. It's your job. This is how you pay. This is your way of feeding your family. No, heart teaching. Oh, you care about me and my success. You care about the community that you live in. Okay, now what you're teaching is going to get me to the next level. So you improve all of that. Now I'm going to listen to what you have to say, because you're really trying to improve my life.
And there's got to be a lot of truth in that too. Like you're, fourth grade teacher and, you're teaching multiplication or division or whatever's happening in fourth grade. And if I'm fourth grade Scott sitting there and, my teacher doesn't seem to care, not teaching to my heart, to your point, it just feels like another exercise. It's like I'm doing this because what's 4 + 8? It's 32 because he told me that's what it is. But to your point, if you are teaching the student in front of you, or if you are teaching the heart, I want to get it right for you. I want that. I want to make sure that I know what he's talking about so I don't let my teacher down. That's such a cool concept.
And bringing it full circle, the pandemic, you have to really do that because these students have been hit with so many traumatic experiences. There's so many kids that miss weeks because of deaths in their family. There's so many kids who could not come to class because they've been infected with COVID. Or their parent is infected with COVID. There's so many kids who had to spend 2 weeks at their grandmother's house because my mom has been infected with COVID. I had a kid that we're crossing our fingers that he doesn't have COVID. He's online and like, I got tested yesterday, and the update every day was we're trying to see, does he have COVID or not?
Yeah.
So he tested negative. That was his good news. What's your good news? I don't have COVID. We're like, yes, my man. But his mother had COVID. His father had COVID. So now he has to deal with it. I mean, I had a kid who missed 2 weeks because of COVID. And so that's where teaching to the heart is that much more important because these kids have already brought so much baggage into the classroom with them on this. To do is pull some of that baggage off your shoulder, and then I can give you something that will keep you sturdy.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about, a kid in your class is good news that he doesn't have COVID or other kids are dealing with it. And then you're trying to teach him math. Like there's so many other things going on with that. And that's while COVID was going on. And now as we kind of come out of this and kind of back to normal, what the school year looks like moving forward, that might be the best piece of advice I've heard when it comes to teaching moving forward. You have to start teaching the student in front of you, and you have to start with the heart.
Yeah.
And the curriculum will come.
Curriculum will come.
That's cool. Well, thank you. This was a lot of sports. I love sports. Tommy likes sports. Haley loves sports. She's been shooting me messages this whole time. Ask about when Clay's coming back. Is it this fall? So are you a Detroit sports fan, or are you just a sports fan?
I am sorry to say, I'm a hardcore Pistons fan. I am. Yeah, we've had a few rough years. It's been rough. I am a Lions fan.
Ugh. I'm a Rams fan now. I love me some Matt Stafford.
Now, I love every team LeBron plays for.
Oh, my gosh.
I just love everything LeBron stands for. I mean, I'm a LeBron guy. I mean,
because he's the chosen one.
He's the GOAT.
I tell you what, oh God, get out of here with GOAT. Do your own thing, LeBron. I'm so sick of him piggybacking on Michael Jordan at every turn. Hey, get your own number. Why do you got to be 23? Make your own movie. Space Jam 2. Like, get your own stuff, man.
Also, too, let's talk about it. I don't know if you're going to keep this on the podcast. Now, you probably won't. Those 6 rings, okay, talk about that. I saw you, Tommy. First of all, he had a good 6-year run.
Yeah.
Good 6-year run. One of the
baseball in the middle of it, too.
One of the best 6-year runs in NBA history, other than the 13-year run that Bill Russell had.
Yeah.
Other than, the run that Kareem had. Kareem had 7 rings. But we got to talk about that. And everybody always talk about 6 rings. He's not the biggest ring winner. He's not high in statistics.
Nope.
There's no statistical category that Michael Jordan is in the top 3 in.
Yes and no. So this is my argument with LeBron. Everybody's gonna be like, oh, he's gonna be the all-time leading scorer because he played for 34 years. Michael only played for 13.
And
as a 4th grade teacher, averages are very important.
I'll say this: there has been no super team made to stop Michael Jordan.
The Jazz are pretty good.
They were not a super team. They were good. They were okay. The Jazz would not make it into playoffs this year.
You don't hear that John Stockton love?
John Stockton. Hey, come on. Steph will smoke John Stockton.
So let me ask you, in all seriousness, your life is on a line. You got to win 1 game. Are you picking Michael or LeBron first to start a team?
1 game?
Yep, that's it. Just one.
On the line.
Yep.
Who am I picking? Who's he playing?
Doesn't matter who. The Monstars.
LeBron.
Yeah, hope you have a bunch of shooters that get hot. See, I just think you look at – I assume you don't have an excuse for the 2011 finals when he wouldn't post up J.J. Barea. We'll just gloss over that. That kind of gets left out of LeBron's legacy in the 8 points you give.
Every year that LeBron has not won a championship, other than that Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the Dallas year, he should have lost. San Antonio.
He shouldn't have got there that year.
He should have got there. Pistons should have been there. They had a better team.
Yeah.
He had 1 hot day against the Pistons. Should have got there. If you go back to the Dallas series, the only series. Dallas series, he should have won the Dallas series. Shouldn't have won either San Antonio. He shouldn't have won the year. None of the years.
He shouldn't have won the Ray Allen year either. Haley just shot me a message and said Ray Allen bailed him out in 2012.
Come on, Haley. I thought we were good, Haley. You gotta show your face if you're gonna throw that out, Haley.
And she just shot me another message that said, "Game on the line." He clanked one off the rim, and Chris Bosh saved him.
Game on the line. He knocked a great one down against
Oh, Toronto, please, Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan. I will go to my grave thinking LeBron is the greatest athlete of all time. I'll give you that. The things he can do athletically is different. He's probably a top 10 passer of all time, but he's more Magic Johnson than he is Michael Jordan.
And I'll put Magic over Michael too.
No, okay, no. Nope.
I'm Lansing, right?
That's fair. I get that. I love me some Magic, but he's
Magic,
not better than Michael.
Magic grew up down the street from my house, right?
I did not know that. I do know my dad.
Magic's nephew, Kingston, goes to our school right now. We talk about basketball all the time.
All right. Well, don't tell him I think Michael's better than his relative, but
I'm just saying. And then two, I'm a bad boy Pistons fan. Never going to give Michael Jordan anything other than bad news. I have not even watched The Last Dance.
Okay.
Refuse to.
You need to watch The Last Dance.
Won't watch it. My friends keep telling me that. I see it on Netflix, go right by it.
So, okay. We need to address something then. You are treating Michael Jordan the same way I'm treating LeBron. Can we at least admit that? We're looking for faults that probably don't exist in each other.
You want to go deeper?
Please.
I'll even go deeper with you.
Yep.
I played Michael Jordan one-on-one.
You did?
Square business.
How'd you do?
9-1. Horrible. I have a picture of me playing basketball against Michael Jordan one-on-one. My mother asked me, did she want to – I was at a basketball camp, Sam Vincent basketball camp. Sam Vincent went to my high school.
Oh, yeah.
Langston Eastern. He played for the Bulls. He played for the Celtics. Jay Vincent also. Jay Vincent is married to one of my cousins. He was married to one of my cousins. I see Jay all the time still. But so Sam had a camp. Michael came to the camp, played Michael one-on-one. There's a picture.
How old were you?
I was 16. There's a picture of me playing Michael Jordan one-on-one. My mother asked me, did I want her to purchase it from the camp? You know what I told her?
No. See, you just hate. I mean, some people just don't like goats. They're more of a sheep guy.
Do I want that picture right now?
Yeah.
The story has no relevance now.
And all I'm going to say is if I had to bet, LeBron would have made sure you had fun. Michael would have embarrassed you.
Nah. Well, Michael,
you got to admit, LeBron does not have that dog in him that Michael and Kobe do. They look like they want to kill you.
You can't win, dog. Okay. I'll put it this way.
LeBron James was down 30 points in the second quarter in a game 5 2 nights ago. He didn't shoot. He didn't show up. You ever seen Michael do that?
Go back and look at the non-winning years.
When he was averaging like 40?
He was shooting, but he was shooting too much. No.
Well, he had Bill Cartwright.
No.
Craig Hodges on his team?
Come on. Ron had who? Boobie Gibson? Bear Jow?
Okay, we both agree that team shouldn't have made it. Boobie Gibson, I actually kind of liked him, but you're right, he was terrible. You don't have any love for Big Z?
He's got who's he have right now to do that?
Anthony Davis?
Schroeder, Matthew, AD? You talk about street clothes?
I kid you not. That's one of the hardest I've laughed in a long time when he said that. I was like, oh my gosh, he nailed it too.
Mr. Glass?
So Haley's getting a little revved up here. I didn't know she was such a big LeBron hater. She just sent a message too that said the flaw in your logic was he should have beat the Mavs. And I think there's some truth to that. That team was Dirk Nowitzki and nobody else. Jason Kidd was like 47.
He should have beat the Mavs. I think he should have beat the Mavs.
Yeah. Those are back in the days where you give LeBron $1, he'll give you 3 quarters back.
He should have killed the Mavs. The Mavs should have been that should have been a non-series. No.
It shouldn't have been close, yeah.
No. But the year, Kyrie with the knee, Kevin Love with the elbow.
Yeah. LeBron is really good when there are no stakes. When there are stakes,
no.
When there are stakes with Michael, he does. I mean, he's 6-0. LeBron, when he's got no shot in the finals, he'll give you 51, 8, and 8. I'll give you that. But everybody knows he doesn't have a shot. When the game is up 10, he'll take the shot. Find me. What does he have game winners against DeMar DeRozan? Please. Tommy could score on DeMar DeRozan. Haley just said she could get buckets against DeRozan. Haley is, whew.
Is really Haley really doing this, or are you saying Haley's doing it?
I'm using Haley as a proxy to reinforce
Oh,
it.
I'm like, is Haley really liking this?
Haley's about that life. All right. Well, we got to go. We got to export this thing. I got to move desks and we got to get rolling. I don't want to keep you here forever. I tell you what, you're bored anytime this week, call me. We won't record it and we'll get after it. Because there's a guy on our team that he thinks LeBron is the greatest thing that's ever lived. And it's like, watch a video, Wes. Watch a video on his footwork and tell me. Anyway,
Great footwork. Okay.
who's a better offensive player? Who's a better offensive player, Michael or LeBron?
It depends what you say about offense.
Oh, my God. No, Michael outscored him without the three-point line. Who's a better defender?
Who's a better scorer?
Michael.
Michael's a better scorer.
LeBron's a better passer.
Offensive player, LeBron is a savant in the offense. Like
He's a
LeBron,
savant passing.
LeBron knows the offense so
His
well.
jumper's been broken for 18 years.
LeBron knows the offense so well. He was in Toronto, and he told a player, "You're running the wrong way. Your offense says you should be in this corner right now."
Rondo's doing that right now too against the Clippers.
I know, but Rondo has
Rondo's.
Rondo has like the highest IQ almost in history of basketball.
Yeah. Last thing, then I actually do have to go. I have to move my desk and stuff. As a LeBron stan, can I get you to admit unequivocally he complains too much and he acts like he gets shot by a sniper at least twice a game?
Okay, as a LeBron fan, as a guy who really loves LeBron, I get upset.
Thank
I
you.
do.
That's all I ask.
I get upset. I do. Some days my wife hates when LeBron's on TV. Like my wife's gonna hate me tonight.
You know what? Tell your wife to give me a call. I'd rather talk to her about
I'm
this.
say so many bad things about LeBron, and I'm critical on him.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I'm not critical because you came with the Michael Jordan side a little too hard. I'm like, nah, back off my point.
Impossible to come too hard.
But I am so critical of LeBron. His game,
Well, there's a lot to criticize.
Not much, but I'm really critical.
All right, good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, thank you. We got to finish up stuff with Haley and Tommy. I got to export this thing. So we will get you something here in a couple weeks, and we'll get after it from there. When's your last day of school?
Last day of school is June 17th, June 18th for me.
All right, do me a favor and do something fun this summer. Go travel, chill out, do nothing.
Summer school for part of the summer. That's
not
of
fun.
the thing. But I'm going to Miami on the 19th.
Good man. All right, have fun. Get a fedora. Get an ascot. You sound like an ascot guy to me. Wear an ascot for me down there.
I think ascots are over the top.
LeBron wears an ascot. All right, thanks, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, have a good night.